Theologian George Limbeck gives an illustration of a crusader who is swinging a mace and about to cleave the skull of a terrified Muslim. Uh, and in that moment, as the mace swings down onto the Muslim skull, the crusader bellows, Christus est Dominus, Christ is Lord. And Lindbeck says in that moment, the thing that the crusader says is in fact false, because the meaning of the very words he speaks, the speech act he performs, are informed and shaped by the form of life through which he speaks. And by exerting violence upon a fleeing individual who is being oppressed by this crusader, that renders false the words Christ is Dominus or Christ is Lord within that context. And this just reflects the long history of Christians, Christian men, who have been drawn more to the way of violence and oppression than to the way of humility of the cross. They've been more drawn to Machismo figures of oppression and dominance and power than to Jesus, who shouldered his own cross um, and accepted the fate of that others imposed upon him. In recent years, in the last 30 years, you saw it in the enormous popularity of the film Braveheart among evangelical males. And when William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson, gives this thunderous, roaring speech to get the Scots and mobilize them to fight against the English and to cleave the skulls of their English oppressors. And when people are more drawn by the image of William Wallace than they are by the image of Jesus, you have this same phenomenon. Um, I remember the book Wild at Heart when it was popular 20 years ago. Same thing, right? This idea of getting evangelical men and making their devotion and their commitment to Christ about more the zeal of Phineas, the zeal, the willingness to be wild and unpredictable and even to inflict violence to protect people ostensibly, that being more like the exemplar that one seeks to follow than the way of the cross. And I've been seeing that increasingly online with this new incipient Christian nationalist mentality that is so popular among males, where they're focusing again on these images of being machismo and of violence. There's one particular series of videos and clips from a Scandinavian fellow who jumps into cold water holding an axe, and that is something that apparently many professing evangelical or Christian followers of Jesus, male Christian followers of Jesus, for some reason they find it to be very inspirational. Here's an example that I just saw this morning on social media. Hey, are you inspired by this guy? Is this puts himself in a slingshot, holding a big axe, and then flings himself into the ocean? Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess if that's your thing, you do you. But I just find it a little bizarre that professing Christian male followers of Jesus are more inspired by this image than they are of a man on a cross. I'm going to put it bluntly, if you when you think about what it is as a Christian man to be a follower of Yahweh, if your go-to image is of William Wallace swinging a sword or Ken Stornes launching himself into the ocean swinging a battle axe, if those are your go-to images rather than the image of a crucified Lord, then you may have an idolatry problem. You may not understand fully what it is to be a follower of Jesus. And that's something concerning because at some point, that idolatry problem becomes, frankly, a new religion altogether. At what point, if um, the image of swinging a battle axe and being launched into the ocean is your go-to image for what it is to be a man and a Christian man, at some point that just becomes some new thing. And then when you are saying Christ is Lord, you may not be saying something true anymore because of the form of life through which you speak.